arrest almost always involves a police officer taking physical hold of the prisoner, this is often a symbolic act requiring no real force. In the same way, the use of handcuffs is a way of showing publicly that someone is under arrest. Of course, physical restraint must be justifiable and involve the minimum degree of force necessary. In the use of handcuffs, the safety of the public and the police officer is the main priority. The safety and security of the prisoner is also an important consideration. Cuffs can be used where there are reasonable grounds to think that an unrestrained prisoner will use violence against the officer or the public, or will try to escape. The decision depends on the circumstances of the case. Just as in the case of using stop and search powers under PACE, an objective view has to be taken. The decision in this case hinges on the question of whether there's a real threat of violence or escape. The criteria for use of handcuffs make it unlikely that they would be used with juveniles, women, and elderly prisoners. The unique feature of the speed cuff is that it's rigid, with the center section consisting of a solid bar protected by plastic rather than a flexible chain. Operation is similar to that of a traditional handcuff, with a double lock facility preventing the bracelet tightening unnecessarily after fitting. The speed cuff can be applied quickly and effectively once the basic principles of its use are understood. The bracelet consists of two fixed bars and a movable single bar, the shackle. It's best to prepare it for use by clicking the shackle back 1 or 2 notches. This allows it to swing round quickly and secure the bracelet to the wrist. The cuffs will still work without this preparation, but fitting will not be as fast or efficient. The molded lug on the plastic cover makes it clear which way round the speed cuffs are. It also helps keep the officer's hand away from the swing-through action of the shackle. Speed cuffs are symmetrical, making them equally easy for right-handed and left-handed users. To use the speed cuff, hold it with your palm upwards. Check that the keyholes are uppermost with the shackle facing away. This action will soon become second nature. Held in this position, the bracelet nearest the thumb is known as the top cuff, and the other is known as the bottom cuff. A range of pouches, holders and loops are available for carrying the speed cuff. The design shown here swivels to allow the cuff to be carried in various positions, but selection of a design depends on each force's evaluation and on personal preference. Speed cuffs are worn on the officer's strong side, for right-handed officers on the right and for left-handed officers on the left. When the officer approaches the subject, it's important not to move too close. Doing so would allow a spontaneous attack by the subject. A minimum distance of 6 feet or 2 meters is recommended, as this allows more reaction time by the officer and forces the subject to take at least one step to initiate an assault. Speed cuffs can be applied with either a high-profile or low-profile draw. The high-profile draw signals the officer's intention to use the speed cuff. The low-profile draw conceals the cuff behind the officer's trailing leg, ready for immediate use. Speed cuffs are fitted with keyholes facing towards the subject's body, preventing the locks being picked. On a long journey with a passive prisoner, stacking hands to the front allows greater mobility, but allows the officer to maintain control easily if desired. If the subject of an arrest is not struggling violently, handcuffing behind the back will allow the subject to be searched for concealed items. officer's safety. Position the subject facing away from you with yourself to their rear. A mark of good self-defense technique is to always have a backup if things go wrong. In about 2/3 of cases, the subject doesn't start struggling until the first bracelet is applied. These techniques show how to regain control quickly. Often, the subject is being restrained on the ground by other officers. In this case, you can apply the speed cuffs back to back, just as if the subject was standing. This position is often used, for example, to remove rowdy spectators from sports events. If the subject begins to struggle, a straight arm lock will take them to the ground where the speed cuff can be applied. It's vital to search all prisoners at the first opportunity to prevent concealment of any evidence. This is an effective technique with a violent subject. Drag them downwards, keeping the speed cuff below knee level to maximize leverage. Clear, verbal commands should be given to the subject at the same time. This technique is used where the prisoner stops resisting after pain is applied by pushing down and pulling up, as shown here. It's important to stop applying pain as soon as the prisoner complies. If they fail to obey your command, you can immediately reapply pressure. This technique can be used to pull a prisoner away from an anchorage, such as a railing or steering wheel. Applying the bottom cuff gives the greatest leverage. Speed cuffs should never be left on in a cell. But removing them from a violent prisoner requires teamwork. The technique should be practiced, and verbal communication in the cell should be kept to a minimum to avoid the prisoner recognizing what tactics are being used.
Take out the car, please. Come on, out the car.
Extracting prisoners from vehicles is often a challenge for drug squad officers who may need to search the vehicle for drugs. This technique is quick and efficient. It may depend on breaking the windows on the vehicle.
Right. Don't mess around. I'm not going to hurt you. Nice and steady. All I want you to do now is reach down your left hand and undo the seatbelt. Do it now. Put your hand back up on the steering wheel. Head down. The other hand where I can see. Put your feet out of the car. Keep your head down. Get out of the car. Come round me. Put your hand on the back of the car. Keep the head down, head down, head down. Hand on the car. Your hand down, place it in the centre of your back.
Effectiveness and convenience of speed cuffs make them a highly desirable addition to the standard equipment of today's police officers.